Hey guys, it's James here from eBassGuitar, and in today's bass guitar lesson I want to take you through a simple 6-point checklist to help you discover if you're an intermediate bass guitar player. I'll see you in the lesson. So last week a student messaged me on Facebook and asked me the question, how do I know if I'm an intermediate bass guitar player? I thought this was an absolutely fascinating question, so much so I asked my community of beginner to intermediate bass guitar students on Facebook exactly the same question. What came back was checklists from 3 points all the way through up to 25 to 30 points. It was really quite interesting. And after giving it some thought, what I realized I could do is I could boil it down to 6 points that I'm going to cover today, which if you can get these down, you are well into the intermediate bass guitar player territory. So just before we hit the lesson content today, I would love to discover what you think makes an intermediate bass guitar player. Please let me know in the comments below. So when a beginner bass player comes to me, there's normally a couple of things going on. The first thing is that they learn songs using tab sites and cover videos. So the byproduct of that is they don't have a full understanding of what they're doing. So to take them into the intermediate phases, it's all about learning critical skills which give them the understanding of how songs and bass lines work. So the first thing an intermediate bass guitar player needs, and we just simply can't ignore this, is a good working technique in both the fretting and the plucking hand. It's often said that having a poor technique is like trying to drive a car with a flat tire. So we need to make sure that we've got speed and dexterity in both hands. So how we do that is that we need to have either the 1 finger per fret technique working in the fretting hand, or 4/3, which is where we play 4 fingers over 3 frets. And in my experience, that is enough to have a good working technique and to play a considerable amount of bass lines. So that's the fretting hand. And in the right hand, we need to have a good alternate fingering technique too, because this is the way of building the speed up. And what we're looking for is notes that are smooth and joined together, or legato. If you can do that, the technique is working well. So what I often do is just get a student to simply play me a 1 octave G major scale, and this will show how technique is working. And this is what we're aiming for. Can you hear how all the notes are joined together? And then what we can start doing is just gently speeding this up. And then the next stage is to take it into 2 octaves. If you can do that, you know that your technique is in good shape, and that's what you need to aim for. The second point I look for in an intermediate bass guitar player is, can they play from a chord chart and play simple root notes using several positions on the fingerboard. So to demonstrate what I mean by this, I'm going to take a simple 1, 6, 4, 5 chord sequence, or in the key of C, this would be C, A minor, F, and G. And this chord sequence is the foundation of literally hundreds upon hundreds of songs, from Stand By Me to Every Breath You Take to Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship. You'll hear it everywhere. But how many different places can it be played on the fingerboard? Because this will show how good your fingerboard knowledge is. So I'm going to start off by playing a C here. I'm going to play to A minor here. I'm going to go to F there. I'm going to go to G there. Now, the next place I want to play, I want to move into the middle register, or the middle frets of the fingerboard, and I want to go C, A minor, F, and G like that. And then going to go C, up to A minor, F, and G. And you can see I'm working my way up the fingerboard here, exploring all the different places I can play this. So I want to show you this in action. I'm going to try and cover as many different ways of playing this 1 chord sequence all over the neck. So let me show you this in action.
3.
Now that might sound simple and straightforward, but having a good working knowledge of where to find every single note on the instrument and be able to play in a wide variety of positions is a good indication of whether you're an intermediate bass player. Now let's move on to point number 3, is can you find simple grooves to play over chord sequences? Because our role as a bass player is to be rhythmically solid too, as well as pinning down the harmony. So the best place to look for a groove is in the kick drum part. And I'm going to show you this here, and we're just going to play a simple rock groove. Let's show you this in action. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you can pick out the chord sequence and then put the appropriate groove to it, you're well into that intermediate stages. So let me show you what this sounds like in action.
2, 3.
Don't forget, if you need help with anything that we've covered so far in this lesson, we've got a completely free Bass Players Action Pack, which will give you a bunch of lessons to get you going and understanding how these core skills work. There's a link in the description below. Now for point number 4, the next thing I look for is, can a student add simple passing notes so they can link the chord sequences together? So let me take this initial chord sequence again and show you what I mean. So can we go C to A minor to F and G. So we've already got the groove to begin with, like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 passing notes on beat 4 and beat 4 and I'm going to use the C major scale to do this. So this will show and develop a knowledge of music theory and how to apply it. So let me show you this in action. So what we're going to do is going to go C, and then our 2 passing notes are going to be C, B, A, like that. So that's going to take us to the A chord. So, and then we're going to play the groove again. And then our 2 passing notes are going to be an A, a G, and then we're going to land on the F like that. So this is the bass line so far. And that's the F, like that. So we're going to play the groove on the F. And then to get to the G, we're going to go from the E and the F and the G like that. So we're approaching each target chord from 2 scalic notes below. That's all we're doing here. And if you can understand how that concept works, you're well on the way to being able to create your own bass lines. Now, to get back to the initial C chord, we're going to play the G groove like this. And then our passing notes are going to be an A, a B, and that's going to land us on the C like that. So this is our bass line. Simple, but once you get into this concept, there are plenty of variations which you're allowed to create and improvise your own bass lines. Let's hear this in context.
2, 3. So I can see the bass guitar as a skills-based instrument, and what we've been doing in this lesson
is layering up skills so we can create our own bass lines and understand how they work. And that's exactly what I teach inside my program, the Bass Lab Plus, over at eBassGuitar. So students can get the full understanding of how to create and understand bass lines. So make sure you jump over there and check out a course called the 30-Day Killer Rock Bass Action Plan, where I'll show you exactly how this stuff works in more depth. So the fifth point from the checklist is, can a student add simple fills to add interest and variety to their bass lines and know where to place them? So let me give you an example of what this entails. So for instance, the perfect place to place a fill on a 4-bar chord sequence like this is in bar 4. So let me demonstrate. So we're going to play the C chord for a bar, we're going to play the A minor chord for a bar, and then we're going to play the F chord for a bar, and then we're going to use a scale called the G major pentatonic to create a fill. And this is what the fill I've chosen sounds like. So it sounds like this: 3, 4, 1. So let me take you through that. So that is G for a quarter note, then we're going to rest for half a beat, and then we're going to play a D, an E, and land it on the G octave like that. So we'll get 1, 2. So that's the first part. And then the last part of the fill, which is placed on beat 4, is going to be an A, a G, and an E like that. And so this is a simple 1-bar fill we could add. Like so. So let me demonstrate what this sounds like in context with the groove and the passing notes, so you can see how I'm building up this bass line.
3.
So I truly believe the skills that I've shown you today are the core of being a really good rounded bass guitar player. And if you can do this stuff, you're well into the intermediate phases of playing the bass guitar. So the sixth point of our checklist today is, can you jam and play in a variety of styles? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the verse of backing track that we're working with using a Motown style bass riff, and then I'm going to go into more of a rock feel with more exciting bass fills, so you can hear the contrast, because this is something we need to be able to do as bass players, is ramp up and down intensity. So let me show you what I mean. So for the Motown groove, this is going to be our Motown groove, which is simply the root, the fifth, and the octave of each particular chord, like so. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put this into the rock fill. I'm just going to go. And add some passing notes and fills in there to build up the excitement. So I'm going to show you this in context. I'm going to jam and have some fun and just experiment, because this is where the real joy for me as a bass player comes from. Guys, that's the end of today's bass guitar video. If you've enjoyed this video, I would love you to jump over to eBassGuitar.com and check out the Bass Lab Plus. This is a full step-by-step program designed especially for beginner to intermediate bass guitar players, and we will teach you all of the skills that we've covered in today's video. So if you'd like to take the Bass Lab Plus program for a test drive and see how far you can push your bass guitar playing forward, make sure you click the link in the description below where you can jump on a free 14-day trial. Cheers, I've been James from eBassGuitar.com, and I'll catch you next week.